What's up guys, Lewi here, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a phenomenal guest on that I'm really excited for you to hear this conversation. His name is Chris Warnes. He runs Warrior Consulting, he's a coach, he's an author, he's a speaker. He runs a non-profit called the Clark Initiative, which we'll get into on the show today, and he's a Purple Heart recipient. So you can probably tell already he's a pretty special individual, and his motto in life is dominate your day. So hopefully that catches your attention and you're looking forward to jumping in. So pay attention and take notes. I learned a ton in this conversation and I'm really thankful for Chris to be on the channel. So without further ado, here we go. What's up guys? Welcome back. I am honored today. I'm super happy to have my buddy Chris Warnes on the show. Chris, how's it going, man?
What's up, dude? Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Chris I met you a couple of years ago now, I think in Nashville at an Arte Syndicate event. And, you know, we got to talk and we were a room full of people. You know, at those events, like they're so interesting because there's so many high level people there where it's like you walk in, you're like, oh my gosh, like everyone's on another level right now. And you were certainly one of those people. When I saw you and started talking to you, I noticed how dialed in you were. And I'm very drawn to people like that because that's how I am myself. And I like to know, like, okay, where's that coming from? Where did that drive happen? And how do you keep it, you know? And I know, you know, for those of you who don't know Chris is a coach. He's a speaker. He has a podcast. He wrote a phenomenal book, Mastermind, all this good stuff. But the essential message of all your stuff is dominate your day. So maybe kind of kick us off. Like, let me know, like, what does that mean to you? Where did that come from? And like, tell me about that.
Yeah. First things first, I gotta say thank you again. I think I met you at the dinner that your partner and I hosted in Nashville. So real quick, let me talk about that. So Mike Sherrard was like, "Yo, Chris, let's host a dinner one night." And I was like, "Oh, definitely." Like, I used to live in Nashville. I'll take care of it. So next thing we knew, we had like 40 people coming to the dinner, and it was at like a relatively nice place, you know, really high level people at the dinner too, like net 8-figure earners, stuff like that. And the end of the night, we had that conversation. We were talking about where you lived, where you came from. I've done jujitsu for 20 years on and off. You've done jujitsu for, I think, a long period of time. Yeah. All of the things. And then the bill came and they handed me the bill and it was like $9,000. And I was like, damn it. So I went up to Mike and I like handed it to him. I was like, you want this one? And he's like, no. I was like, bro, you want to split it? And he's like, yeah, let's split it.
Oh God, dude.
But a couple of people sitting there saw me get the bill and just handed me their Amexes. And I was like, nah, like, we got this. And they're like, no, you're going to let us chip in on this. So that was a good dinner. It was super awesome to see a lot of high level dialed in people. And my Amex didn't feel too bad at the end of the night.
You know who was also at that dinner? It was Angela Goodman. Yep. And she's actually our event planner for our live event that Mike and I are putting on. So she's on board with us right now. She is phenomenal. Phenomenal. I love her.
Yeah, I think she was one of the people who ended up paying for a little bit of that dinner. Yeah. So answering your question, right? Like, dominate your day, a high performance guide to winning at life. It actually was a big mess up. In 2020, I owned gyms, like full service box gyms. And in Connecticut, we got shut down real hard and you couldn't do anything here. There was a guy a couple states over, Ian Smith. He's got a big beard. He was the guy who got like famous because he kept his gym open.
Right.
And ended up like getting federal indictments because of it. But Yeah, well, Ian Smith, like I know the guy, cool dude, but he kept his gym open. You weren't supposed to do that, so
Mm,
on and so forth. So I had all this free time on my hands, and because I wasn't quote unquote working, and owning a gym is a lot of work. And
well, I've
long
been
story
there.
short, yeah, so you understand,
Hmm.
and you completely get it. Yeah, I had like 60 people working for me. I had nothing to do. So on my goal board was to start a consulting company for 2020. I had failed it for the past 2 years. I like made every excuse to why I shouldn't be a coach or a consultant. Too young, not making enough money, not enough experience, so on and so forth. And in reality, I was doing better than not only 99% of America, but most people in their early 30s by a drastic percentage, whatever, 99.999%. But I just kept like failing the goal. I didn't think I was good enough.
Mm.
So when 2020 rolled around, I said, all right, I've been in business 12 years. I've been coaching people for, I don't know, 7, 8 years for free. I have a podcast. Like, all right, I'm going to start charging for this because I can't keep up with the requests and the DMs and the so on and so forth. At that point, I was just helping people, doing a podcast, responding to DMs because I was doing well and people wanted to know like how and what's the secret and must
Hmm.
be nice and all the things.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to roll out that I'm a business consultant and I'm going to be a business consultant and I'm going to teach entrepreneurs how to do business. So I announced it on social media in like one day. I was like $30,000 of people paying for whatever I was
Dang.
selling just on organic like stories and posts and stuff. And this was 2020. But I didn't beta test my market. And everybody said they wanted to learn how to be successful. And I said, do you guys want to learn how to like scale or open your businesses? And no, we don't have businesses. I was like, all right. So I I went back to the drawing board and I was like, well, I can't teach these people that just signed up for me to coach them how to be an entrepreneur if they don't want to be an entrepreneur. So they all want to be successful and be physically in shape and physically fit and wealthy. I have to create a program on how to do so. So I went to the whiteboard and I took like my 10 biggest like non-negotiables and I wrote them down and I said, I'm going to build a course on this, which ended up being 8 weeks.
Mm.
And I named it Dominate Your Day. The crazy part is, as I started teaching it, within a few weeks, people were having monumental like shifts in their life.
Wow.
One guy hadn't slept with his wife in a few years. All of a sudden, she's pregnant.
Wow.
Like one dude quit his job as a general manager in a gym to go open his own gym on a whim. Another guy got a $60,000 a year bonus or raise, like salary raise for a position. Like wild stuff was happening. So I was like, all right, well, I'm on to something here. When those 8 weeks were over, I was like, should probably write this into a book. And so I did. I mean, it wasn't easy, but and I know you're about to launch your thing, your book.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah. 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 For
Yeah.
sure.
So you
That,
know that it's not an easy task. It's quite time consuming,
no.
but the whole premise, yeah, the whole premise of Dominate Your Day is it's my personal system
Mm.
to be a high performer. And it's not your typical bullshit. It's untypical high performance, in my opinion. And it's very spiritual and it's very reprogramming the subconscious
Mm.
and it's very psychological and it's very mundane activities done repeatedly for decades to create a life worth living.
Mm. Yeah, that's huge. You know what's I think a key thing you just said there was it's, you know, it's your personal take, it's your personal program that worked for you. So you teach it to others. And like, we're in the world of coaching right now, right? Everyone's a coach. There's coaches everywhere. But one of the things that, because it's funny when you say in 2020 you were like hesitant to step into it, you'd said you're going to do it, you didn't do it. I'm in that place right now. Like, I'm just stepping into this role and I have tremendous fear and doubt about it. I have insane imposter syndrome, all this stuff going on. And but the biggest piece of the puzzle for me is that I'm only going to teach the stuff that I do for myself and that has worked for myself, and that's it. I don't teach anything else. I don't teach realtors how to sell real estate because I'm not the best at selling, but I will teach how to, you know, manage your calendars properly, how to, you know, manage your spirituality and your fitness and all the stuff that I do for myself to make sure that my business thrives, but so does my family life. That's what I teach. And I think that is why it's starting to take off, because I think people can see through the bullshit of this kind of coaching facade thing we're in, you know. And I'm guessing that that's most likely why yours took off so quickly, because you're obviously very genuine and you can see through the bullshit so quickly, you know.
Yes, and I think seeing through the bullshit is one of those skills that takes a lot of self-awareness. For instance, being a coach, right? I'm a new coach. I've only been coaching for almost 4 years, like not even really 4 years, like probably closer to three. But I only teach really a handful of topics, just like you, right? You teach like basically operations, like
Yeah,
operation systems for you personally and professionally, which is like what most people are missing. They're focusing on sales,
yeah,
but not on the admin stuff. And it's like, well, what happens if the sales dry up? Like your problems are going to be exposed. But anyways, one of the topics that I teach and I'm very passionate about is leadership. And in this leadership realm, you have people that just regurgitate podcasts from influencers, David Goggins, and Jocko books. And it's like, I could see it from 10,000 miles away. And I just want to shake them and be like, stop scamming people. Like, leave their money in their pocket. Let true leaders teach leadership. And having the time of self awareness focused internally now for over a decade, it helps with the bullshit radar because you have to sift through your own bullshit to be able to detect it from other people, right?
yeah.
And like, let's just be honest, I've been in rooms with, you know, great people, and I'm like, mm-mm, mm-mm. I don't make a big deal out of it, but I know,
Mm-hmm.
which shows me what not to do,
Yeah,
right? Just like having a mentor. I've had a mentor where I couldn't stand it and it was really bad. It taught me what not to do. So to answer your question, yeah. But for you, I think what would be huge to focus on, especially if like there's imposter syndrome, because I had it too big time and I still have it. I get on stage, there's 1,000 people watching me. I'm like,
yeah,
that guy, you know,
yeah.
what helped me, man. Maybe for anyone listening too that goes through it, if you have imposter syndrome, if the people that you're working with are getting results on the systems that you built for you, and now you're teaching others, it's like a reinforcement that what you're doing is not only working, but it's working well.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, man, but watching other people win, especially if you're a part of their journey, I mean, it's some of the most fulfilling, like truly heartwarming stuff to be a part of. Like, you have kids, it's the same thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, you teach them how to go potty and they do. And you're like, yes.
Yeah. Dude, I was just talking to my wife before I came upstairs here. So my kids do jujitsu, you know, And when they're at class, I take them every time. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm so in the moment, and like I enjoy it more than I enjoy my own time on the mat, you know. But when I see them take someone down or tap someone or something with a technique, it's like the most joyous feeling ever. And you know, it's the same with the agents we work with, you know, when they're like, hey, and for me, like I love working with guys. I love, you know, Ed always says in my let, he always says, you know, the person you're best equipped to help is the person you used to be, right? And that's why I love working with guys who earn six figures or more, but don't spend any time with their families, because that's who I used to be. And I love helping them turn that around and seeing that change, and it's huge. And you know, when I see that, it does reinforce me. Like I know that I'm supposed to be doing this. I know I'm supposed to be in this place. Um, but now and then it just creeps back all the time, you know. Now is your program still an 8-week program and then a continuation, or how does that work when people come into your coaching world?
Yeah, no. So I did what I thought was right. I didn't know anything about the coaching space. Uh, I had coached in fitness for 7 years prior to gym ownership. And I would coach on 12 and 16-week time blocks. So that's what I thought
Right.
was what to do.
Cycle.
Yeah, I specialized in fitness competitors. I turned a whole bunch of people pro, but the point is, uh, that's what I thought was right, and I didn't really know how to open a coaching business, let alone how to coach. But I went through undergrad and grad school for business, and it was 8 to 14 week courses. So I was like, all right, this is probably the way to do it. So that's what I did. However, owning a gym taught me a very valuable lesson about subscription based models. And when you wake up and you have like a couple $100,000 deposited into your account at the end of the month on subscription, it kind of changes life a little bit, especially if there's a margin in there for you, and you're like, I don't have to chase sales. Like being a cash based business versus residual income, a subscription based model. I was like, I think I'm doing this wrong. And I just wanted to change. I had the curriculum, but I wanted to change how I was collecting money in return from my coaching. And the coaching was in demand and has only increased since. But the point that I'm getting at is I changed it to a monthly subscription model unless they're paying in full for a VIP treatment, which is near six figures. Outside of that, everything is subscription based and it's monthly, and I don't do contracts. So if you're not getting any value from me, there's the fucking door. I don't care. Goodbye. Because I've learned that you create room for aligned individuals to come.
Yeah.
But I don't have a lot of churn, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, that speaks volumes, man. So getting back to, I'm fascinated with this dominate your day thing. Obviously, because you've got your day, I feel like a lot of people could dominate one day. If you're like, hey, I challenge you to dominate one day. Okay. And okay, well, what about 3 days, 5 days, 2 weeks, a month, a year, a quarter? Like, what do you see typically as the biggest hurdle or challenge when you take a client on, or you talk to people in general, or society in general right now? Like, why does this not seem to be commonplace in like today's society?
We're going to open a can of worms on this
Let's
one.
go, baby. Hey guys, today's video is sponsored by, well, me. I have a new book out ready for download. You can see the link in the description below or go to balancethescalesbook.com. This book is all about time management and how you can balance the scales of your life with all the different things you have for business and in your personal life, and able to mesh them into one comprehensive day where you can manage what you're doing and manage the expectations that you put on yourself and others put on you too. This book goes over practical time management tips, how to set boundaries and regain control of your schedule, how to integrate family time into your busy life without skipping a beat, and how to supercharge your health and well-being while excelling inside of your career. Now, this book is just a little glimpse and insight over to my journey over the last 4 to 5 years, and hopefully the tips inside here can help you as much as they did me. So click the link in the description to get your free copy today, or go to balancethescalesbook.com to get your copy. All right, let's get back to today's episode.
You know, I personally believe countries rise and fall within a generation. Okay, so hear me out. In the 1900s, in Japan, samurais were walking around the streets with samurai swords, still ruling the country after like a century, give or take. In 1940-ish, they bombed Pearl Harbor and attacked America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 40 years later and change, 40 and change years later. That's one generation. One generation ago, Hong Kong was farm fields. It's the biggest, most robust, progressive city on the face of the earth right now.
Mm.
Okay. So let's back up a generation in America. In the 80s, fast food came around. In the 80s, people started advertising for drugs on TV because of ADHD and additional psychological issues. There's a theory that I prescribe to. You call me a conspiracy theorist, that's perfectly fine. I personally believe that it's been injected into our society to soften us. Now, I'm 38. I'm a geriatric millennial. I'm like right on the cusp of Gen X, right? I believe it's my generation that is the beginning of this downfall of this soft, undisciplined, unhealthy, mentally weak movement that we have. It could also be looked at as the byproduct of the civil rights movement, the byproduct of equality, specifically when it comes to the feminine movement, the feminist movement. Now, first things first, I have nothing against any of what I just said. I would consider myself a feminist. I believe women are more powerful than men. They produce children. Yeah. Way more powerful. You know, my highest paid people are women. So I'm not like anti, I'm just saying could be considered the byproduct of that with interjection of outside influence from countries, say Russia, to collapse us from within. So now, as a coach, I've worked with people on the fitness level and the business level for a decade and a half. I have worked with high performers to build habits just in different industries. And the biggest thing that I see is sleep. Motherfuckers don't sleep. And if you don't sleep, you're not going to perform. If you don't sleep, you're not going to be disciplined. Let's rewind it for a second. You talked about guys making six figures that don't have relationships with their family. Mm-hmm. They're also typically overweight.
Yeah.
Okay. I call it, and let's be honest, six figures is good. However, it's entry level when it comes to making money.
Yeah.
Once you start getting to the 7-figure mark net, then you're making some money. You know, multiple 7 figures, you're getting close to fuck you money. But the point is, I call those money guys. Family hates them, overweight. By the time they're 50, they're trying to buy back their health. Nah, you fucked up the past 30 years. You can't really buy that back. Oh, you need to buy back your relationship with your kids too. You know,
Mm,
how many houses do you have to buy them to do that?
yeah.
But anyways, so when people come to me right now, I got a guy who net 7-figure earner, top line 8-figure earner, you know, hires me. He's like, Chris, you need to straighten me out. I was like, cool. Tell me about your bedtime. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? Said, when do you go to bed? He's like, whenever I'm done. I said, we're starting right there, buddy.
Mm,
That's where we're starting. He goes, what are you talking about? So we're going to talk about your caffeine curve for you, your caffeine consumption, when we're going to cut it off prior to your bedtime that we're going to set. We're going to talk about your wind down period prior to your bedtime. He said, what are you talking about? I go, how many kids you got, bro? He goes, 5. I do everything for him. I go, cool. They got a bedtime? He's like, yeah. I go, why don't you?
mhm,
Because you're an adult. When does that stop? When do we stop having bedtimes?
mm.
I personally sleep between 7 and 10ish hours a night. Last night I slept 10 hours. I
Wow.
just hosted a retreat over the weekend. Long story short, I needed some sleep. But the point is, for the time that I'm operating, 12 hours throughout the day, it's controlled, it's quality, and it's dialed in
Mm,
for those 12 hours or maybe 14 hours, depending on the day. Sometimes I do 16, but not usually. Usually it's between 12 and 14. So, to answer your question, I see it in sleep. If
mm,
you're not going to sleep, you're not going to hit REM cycles. If you don't hit REM cycles, your body's not going to produce human growth hormone. It's not going to be secreted. You're not going to repair. Your brain function is going to be less. Your physical function is going to be less. Your decision making is going to be less. Your entire life is going to be less quality. And if you want to perform at a high level, in my opinion, it all starts with sleep.
that's fascinating because what's interesting is when I was in hustle mode, or this bullshit chasing money, I was getting 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night, probably
Yep.
4 to 5 average, because I was listening to like 80s Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's like, you only need 4 hours of sleep. I'm like, okay, Arnold, no
Yeah.
problem. 4 hours of
Yeah.
sleep, that's all I need. And I was waking up. I mean, it was brutal. And just actually, and I've been better recently, but just about 6 months ago, I committed like, hey, look, I'm getting at least 7 hours. At least I need it. And I cut out my early morning workouts to wake up at the same time or just before getting my kids up for school, doing the school runs, then working out, pushing my day back 1 hour, and then getting to it. And the change, dude, the change, focus wise, physically wise, my mood, everything changed just getting that piece of the puzzle. Because I listened to a podcast. I can't remember who the guy was. He's like a sleep scientist guy.
Sean Stevenson.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and
I got his book on the, yeah.
oh really? And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
talking about how like it's how you onset Alzheimer's. It's
Mhm.
and it's like I feel like I kind of fell into this trap of this hustle culture kind of thing where it's like you don't need sleep, sleep's for pussies and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And it's like it's wild how much it's physically changed me in the last
Mhm.
3 to 6 months, honestly.
How's your body composition? Is it better?
Dude,
Yeah.
way better.
Yeah.
Way better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
You
was
know,
funny. I was just talking to Mike Sherrard the other day, and because we're putting on this event in next year, and I'm like, hey, we need to be shredded for getting on that stage. And I'm in good shape already and stuff, but like, you know, I kind of looked at my body composition regards to where it was last year. Even now, I'm like, this is insane. It's my body fat is shrinking down, getting way more shredded. In the gym, my output is way higher. Strength numbers have gone up, cardiovascular up, in jiu-jitsu, I'm way more focused. I couldn't believe it, honestly. I was like, there's no way
Mhm.
this can just be sleep.
Mhm.
It's wild.
Mhm. Yeah, dude. When I was in the military for 5 years, I did a couple tours in Iraq, and you're sleep deprived in the military. Like,
Mm,
you got to work 20 hours regularly when you're in combat. And that 4 hours is like a nap here and a nap there, right?
mm,
Sometimes you got to work 36 hours, 48 hours straight. Maybe you catch a nap, but getting out of the military, I would literally wake up open my laptop, drink coffee. Alex Hormozy talks about this actually. He talks about that's the way to do it. And I'm like, I need sleep and I need to like get my brain and my soul right before I start, you know, telling other people what to do, basically. But that hustle culture, and I'm not saying anything negative about Alex. I'm
No.
just saying my viewpoint is different. But
Well, it's
also
Goggins as
I'm
well, right? Same
yeah,
deal.
yeah, yeah, exactly. My mindset is different, but I'm also different
Yeah.
than both of them. But the point that I'm getting at is I fell into that hustle for the first probably decade, dude, of work, of building my brand and my companies and so on and so forth. And 33 years old, making an incredible amount of money, employing 60 people or something along those lines, 50s, somewhere in there. I wound up in the hospital. And, you know, I'm in excellent shape and I have been for a long time. Like my quads are split, my abs are out, my obliques are out. You know what I mean? My shoulders are striated at all times. And the doctor's like, "You're going to die." And I'm like, "What? Like how can you say that to me?" He goes, "Tell me about your stress levels and how much you sleep." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't sleep and I'm stressed." And he goes, "You're going to die early." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "You're sacrificing. You look great externally, but internally, you are going to shortchange your life if you don't change your sleep." And it was like a wake up call. And I was like, "Holy sugar." And I went on the internet and I was like, "Who's a sleep expert?" And I found Sean Stevenson and I bought his book and I read that book and I was like, "Whoa, I'm doing so much wrong." And I implemented everything. Now, without, dude, 8 o'clock rolls around, by 8:30, 9 o'clock, I'm usually asleep by 8:30. I'm usually cooked by 8. You know, an hour prior to that, I'm done with the phone, I'm done with the
Yeah.
TV, all of that. I wake up between 4 and 5, depending on the season. Feel good. Usually it's 5. Feel great, man. 8 to 5. Feel awesome
Yeah.
and able to perform well. Don't need caffeine in the afternoon. I'm good. Um, I think sleep's a very underrated thing. I also think it's the foundation of everything. This guy I was just telling you about, this 7-figure earner that wants me to come in and get him to 8 figures through his, or excuse me, get him to the next level through his mindset. We've been working together a month. We haven't moved on past that bedtime, which we talked about week 1.
Wow.
Not until you get that in line. I cannot teach you the rest. You have to get it in line. And he
Mm.
will. He'll get it. It's just little tweaks, you know?
Yeah.
So
Now, after the sleep part, because I'm fascinated by this, I'm fascinated by routines. And a lot of people talk about morning routine and all this kind of stuff. But
sure.
for me, it's the same way. Like I actually, at nighttime when we're watching a TV show with the kids or whatever, I start wearing these blue light glasses, like
Yeah.
from like about after dinner onwards. And then I try not to look at screens. I try to turn my phone's off, notifications off. I'm just like, okay, my brain needs to be like, okay, hey, we're done. We're going to start shutting down here. And then if I do that properly, I sleep really well. But in the morning, what's that look like for you to start firing things up, to start the engines on again?
Yeah.
Like, do you wake up rested and you're just like, bump, ding, I'm good to go, or do you
No.
have to start the tank going?
Yeah. No, I need about 60 minutes, man.
Yeah.
In my book, I write about my morning routine at that time when I was writing the book in 2020. It's evolved a bit. I mean, we all evolve, right? Like you
Yeah.
should be evolving.
Yeah.
It's evolved a bit, but fundamentally, my morning routine consists of 1, 2, 3, 4 things, 5 things, 4 things staple.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so in the book, I teach meditation, gratitude journaling, affirmations, and exercise. So now, excuse me, meditation, gratitude journaling, affirmations, exercise, and reading. That's the 5.
Mm.
Now, what I do when I first get up is I start reading. I don't have like a set number. Like sometimes I read for 10 minutes, sometimes I read for 30. It depends on the day. I don't count the pages. I usually read a book a month, give or take, depending on the book and like the length and so on and so forth. The one that I've been working on, I'm about 3 weeks in. I'm almost done with it. So after I'm done reading, I go straight into gratitude. I believe in, so I didn't have gratitude in my life. And when I came out of the military, I was not grateful for anything. But I found gratitude in being alive because my life was almost taken from me on numerous occasions. It's a public thing. My most of my keynotes is on the day that I received my Purple Heart.
Mm,
But I like to write a gratitude journal. What I'm most grateful for, what I'm most excited for, what I'm most happy for. And I also write about what is not here yet in the present tense. Maybe it's a sales goal, maybe it's a scaling goal, maybe it's someone else to achieve something that they've been trying to do. Once I do that, I do a few affirmations. My brain was heavily damaged from combat. I have 13 traumatic brain injuries that I was documented with. So it's needed a lot of rewiring. A brain is actually very easy to rewire as long as you give it time between the synapses in the mind can create a block, such as trauma. So I've had to use affirmations to rewrite my subconscious and thinking pattern. I used to do like 30 affirmations a day. Now I do like 5. I'm good. But then I go and exercise. I have been meditating for so long, over a decade now. A lot of times I don't like sit there and meditate. Now I can meditate. Like today I ran for 45 minutes. Like I meditated the whole time.
mm,
Moving meditation is one way of meditating. I meditate when I work out, man. Like I've gotten into moving meditations rather than like sitting still and meditating.
mm.
So that's what it looks like: reading, gratitude, affirmations, and then exercise slash meditations. I did shortchange the first thing that I do when I get out of bed before I read. I get out of bed, I go to the bathroom, and then when I wash my face, I wash my hands and then I wash my face with cold water, and I just thank God, higher self, source, whatever your belief system is, for the day and the new opportunity. So thank you for my life. Thank you for today. Thank you for this new opportunity. The cold water just kind of gets me moving.
Mm.
Pour my coffee, start reading, gratitude, uh, affirmations, exercise, and then I'm done usually by 7 a.m. and I'm
Yeah.
at it. My team meetings start at 9:30. I got a couple hours of deep work. By 9:30, I'm working with the teams through about lunch. By lunchtime comes around 12 to about 6 p.m. is client situations
Wow.
between being a watch dealer and a coach. It's whatever is needed.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
No, that is funny. It's We have a very similar routine in the morning. I wake
Mm-hmm.
up and the first thing I do is I splash cold water on my face
Yeah.
3 times. I don't do
Mm-hmm.
that. I don't do that gratitude, but I'm going to add that because I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank for the day. Then I
Mm-hmm.
go downstairs and I drink a green smoothie. I drink a flight of greens, chug that first. Then I meditate for 10 minutes. Then I journal. A lot of times it's gratitude. Then I'll read a book until I get the discovery, like a lot of people read, and just until I find that one piece, I'm like, that's a zinger. I write it down and I make sure that it's on my agenda to share that with someone today.
Ooh,
Like
I like
whatever,
that.
yeah. So whatever I learned from that book, I'm going to share it with someone where it's going to be relevant to them, whether it be the team, whether it be agents I work with, whether it be my wife, whoever. And then and then I start making breakfast and coffee for the family, stuff like that. But dude, I love that water splash. I can't remember who I got the cold water. It might have been Ed, but that cold water in the face first thing, ooh, it's the best. The
Yeah,
best, man.
it kind of like shocks you, right? Like a lot of people like the cold I forget the cold plunge, I
Plunge.
think it's called.
Oof.
I'm not about that life. Like
Mm-mm.
I have a hot tub. Like I'll meditate in the hot tub. You know what I
I'm
mean?
the
Like,
same way. I hate
but
that
like,
cold shit.
and like I'm in the hot tub usually every day, anyways. Just because I believe in self care. But I believe that in guys like Ed and who's the brain doctor?
Huberman? No,
Yeah, what's the other guy's name? The big guy's name? Breaking the habit of yourself.
I'm not
Uh,
sure.
Dispenza.
Okay.
Ed and Joe Dispenza, like these guys could talk about the brain in a very deep manner. However, in a general sense, if within the first 10 seconds you're awake or 20 seconds you're awake, if you're shocking your system with the cold water, but pouring gratitude out, you're setting the tone for the
Mm,
day. In a guy I'm not taking away from anybody else, but a guy like me who has almost been killed too many times to count, it's really powerful for me to be like, thank you. Like, seriously, like, thank you for today. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for my life. Thank you. And that just sets the tone for me. And of course, you get smashed in the face and dick all day as an entrepreneur. Like shit happens and you become ungrateful in the moment. But if you can keep that gratitude for the majority of the day, you're doing really good. And if you can set the tone first thing in the morning, I think it's a little like hack.
yeah, I agree. I think that's huge. And I'd rather get smashed in the face and in the dick, do
Yeah,
my own thing and pursue my dreams than,
for sure.
the majority of people who don't enjoy what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, wrapping things up, I think I'm so glad we touched on that sleep pattern thing, because I ask a lot of people like what they think the biggest piece of the puzzle is, and a lot of the time it's like discipline, and all these answers are on point, and alignment. We were just talking the other day about it, but like the sleep piece of it, having just gone through this like 6 month piece of it, like giving myself more sleep, I can physically feel myself in a better place, and it's phenomenal. So I'll put a link to that book in the description below. Um, Anything else on your mind before we kind of sign out here? And then I'll put obviously your social media and all the stuff down there. Like, what's this next year looking like for you? Like, what's your mission? What are you excited about right now?
Yeah. I think, I'll say this, you know, I'm going to be breaking ground on a 500 plus acre retreat called Warrior Ranch, uh, owned through my nonprofit, the Clark Initiative, teaching veterans to become entrepreneurs. And I'm doing it in the name of Carlton Clark, who one night relieved me from going out on patrol, uh, took my space on a 50 caliber machine gun, and that truck got blown up and annihilated that night. And they all died, including Clark. And, and my nonprofit's in the name of him. And we're doing this for veterans to become entrepreneurs. And it's already wildly successful, and it's only been around 2 years. We're the only one in the nonprofit space teaching veterans to become entrepreneurs. I'm really excited to break ground. I really want to have the ribbon cutting ceremony, and you and Mike should totally come.
Oh, I'll be there.
It'd be 8/8 2026. 8/8 August 8th, 2026. That'll be the 20-year reunion or 20-year celebration of Clark's legacy. This
Mm.
20 years that he had been KIA. And that was my seat. But I'm really excited about that. All of my companies are growing rapidly. We grew top line 265% last year. We're on track for another 3-figure growth this year.
Wow.
Bottom line is great too, but it's cool to like I just added 2 new team members. Like all that stuff's awesome, but you know what I think is even more awesome is this. I think guys like you having a platform to bring people on to share and empower anyone listening that even dudes like you and I who are like entry level at success and entrepreneurship and wealth and so on and so forth, right? Anybody listening can do it. Anybody. Like if you're that person who's been like grinding it out and you're just not seeing the tangible return yet, just give it time. Like it sucks. I know. And listen, we're all at it at just at a different point on the journey. Yeah, I want a private jet. Can I afford one? Nope. Do I have a tax liability I need to buy a jet for yet? No. Last year, did I ask my accountant if I could buy a helicopter to cover up my tax liability? Yes. But I don't have a private jet. Do I want one? Hell yeah. Do I want a private yacht? Yeah, to fly my helicopter off of. But I'm not there yet. But anyone listening, if you haven't hit that mark that you're focused on, just keep going. Just keep going. And if you find out you're doing something wrong, just fix it. Just don't stop and fix it. You know, and stay focused, because I'm telling you, myself personally, as I move into year 16, I fucked it up and did it wrong for at least 10 years. Once I passed that like 10, 12-year mark, I was like, oh, I figured a few things out. I should just double down on all that shit. But that's all I really wanted to share was anyone listening, man, just keep fucking going, dude. Just keep going and don't fucking quit. Don't be a pussy. Just fucking have the grit, man. Have the grit and keep going. Give it a decade. And you know what? If you haven't gotten to where you want to be in a decade, give it another decade. And if you can't make it work in fucking 2 decades, then okay, maybe you can consider pivoting completely and doing something else, but it takes time. And that's really it, man. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say that.
Oh, dude. Chris, I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. I love talking with you, and I hopefully we'll do more in the future here, but
you got to come on my shows.
Oh, I'd love to.
We'll get you on.
I'd be honored. But in everything you're doing, man, everything you're doing in the coaching space, helping people, obviously, you know, the service you gave in the military, like everything, I'm so grateful for you. I'm so appreciative and honored to speak with you. And I will put all of Chrissy's information in the description below. You can check out everything that he's got going on and follow the Clark Initiative and everything from there as well. So, Chris, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
You got it, man. Thank you so much. And everyone, just remember, don't give up, kick ass, and run the fucking play.
Love it. Boom. There we go, guys. Big thanks to my brother Chris for coming on the show. What an amazing conversation, amazing person. I love the way that he operates. As always, you can check out all the links below for all of the stuff that Chris is involved with, including the Clark Initiative and everything else. If you do want to get a free copy of my book, Balance the Scales, that just came out, the links are below as well, or you can go to balancethescalesbook.com. As always, I appreciate you tuning in, and we will be bringing more special guests like this to the channel in the near future. Until then, take care.